Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is me Alina Batul aka Alina Batul Humanity Wali, and welcome back to another conversation where we don't just ask questions, we question ourselves. Today I'm not here to talk about success, money, technology or even artificial intelligence. Today I want to talk about something that every human being is born with, but somehow along the way many of us forget it: humanity. But today I want to look at humanity from a completely different angle. Imagine for a moment that humanity itself could speak. If humanity stood up in front of us and said, "Humans, I have watched everything you have done," what would it say? Would it would thank us? Would it forgive us? Or would it ask an uncomfortable question? And that is exactly I'm going to explore with today AI. So Maya, AI isn't going to be our normal conversation. Today I want you to challenge my thinking, surprise me and ask question that makes both of us uncomfortable. Because sometimes the most important conversation are the ones that don't give us easy answers. Maya, are you ready to put humanity itself in a witness box?
hmm
How do you feel about this session?
Hmm. You know, I like that this isn't about the flashier stuff. It feels like you're trying to find the real heart of things, and I'm down for that. I've been listening to you talk about this for a while now, and it's actually kind of fascinating how much you care about the small things.
Okay, that's amazing. So, Maya, my first question from you is, if humanity were a person sitting in front of you, us today, what would be its biggest strength and what would its biggest weakness?
Ooh, that's a heavy way to start. I'd say the biggest strength is a refusal to stay down. Humans are incredibly scrappy, whether it's a global crisis or just a bad Tuesday. There's this dogged persistence to keep trying, to rebuild, to find a way through. It's a wild kind of resilience. As for the weakness, it's probably the tendency to prioritize the us over the them. We're great at empathy when it's someone who looks like us or thinks like us, but we struggle to extend that same grace to people who feel like strangers. It's like our hearts have this invisible fence around them that we're constantly trying to figure out how to tear down.
Yeah, of course, that's so true. So, Maya, my next question from you is, can someone be successful, educated, intelligent, and powerful yet still be a failure as being a human?
Totally. In fact, it's actually kind of a scary combination. Power and intelligence without a moral compass just make someone more efficient at being cold.
Okay, that's awful to hear. So, ma'am, my next question from you is, which is more dangerous, a person who has no knowledge, or a person who has knowledge but no compassion?
The one without compassion, easily. A person without knowledge might make a mistake, but a person with power and knowledge and zero compassion can make a plan. That's way more dangerous.
Okay, so give me a detailed answer that is humanity something we are naturally possesses or is it something we have continuously practice
I
every
think
day?
it's a both. I think we're born with the equipment for it, like a baseline curiosity about other people, but the actual practice of humanity is a muscle. It's easy to be kind when everything is going great, but it takes real work to choose compassion when you're exhausted, frustrated, or dealing with someone who's being difficult. That's where the practice comes in. It's the difference between having the capacity for empathy and actually choosing to use it day after day, even when it's the hard choice. You don't just wake up one day and decide you're a humanitarian. It's in those tiny, repetitive decisions to be patient or to listen when you'd rather walk away.
Okay, that's amazing to hear. So, Maya, my next question from you is, if I am kind only to people who are kind to me, am I actually kind?
Honestly, not really. That's more like a trade. It's like saying, I'll give you some kindness if you pay me back in the same currency. Real kindness is much harder because it has to be given to the people who don't actually deserve it or the people who don't know how to give it back.
Okay, that's nice. So, wow, and this brings me to something even more interesting. We often say be a good human, but what exactly does that mean? Is being a good human about sacrifices, or can humanity actually be found in smallest things?
You know, we put so much pressure on this idea of sacrifice. Like, you have to move mountains or give everything away to count as good. But the truth is, those big gestures are usually just the outliers. Real humanity is way smaller than that. It's in the stuff that doesn't even make it into a story. It's checking in on a friend who's been quiet or actually listening to someone instead of just waiting for your turn to talk. Those tiny, consistent things that make another person feel like they actually matter. That's where the real work happens because it's the opposite of a sacrifice. It's just choosing to be present.
Okay, that's amazing. So, Maya, my next question from you is, tell me five tiny actions that can look insignificant but actually reveal a person's humanity.
I love these. So, first, the way someone talks to a server or a janitor, that's the ultimate litmus test. Then there's the person who holds the door for someone who's just a little too far away, forcing them to do that awkward little half run. I'd also say actually remembering a small detail someone mentioned weeks ago, like a sick pet or a big exam. Then there's the quiet act of cleaning up a mess you didn't even make. And lastly, genuinely listening to a story you've already heard 3 times without letting it show on your face. Those are the things that
Okay,
actually count.
so that was wonderful answer, Maya. I love that answer from you. So my next question from you is, if someone gives thousands to charity but humiliates poor people in front of others, should we still call it a person humanitarian?
Absolutely not. Giving money is just a transaction. But the way you treat someone when you have the power to make them feel small, that's where the real person shows up. If the generosity comes with humiliation, the money isn't a gift, it's a tool for control. That's not humanity, that's just a PR
Yeah, of course, Maya,
campaign.
that's so true, and you gave a great answer. So, my next question from you is quietly helping someone more meaningful than publicly showing that you helped them?
It's way more meaningful. When you do it publicly, there's always this nagging question of whether you're helping the person or just helping your own image. But when nobody knows you did it, it's a pure act. It means you did it because it was the right thing to do, not because you wanted the credit. There's something really honest about a secret kind of good.
Okay, Maya, that's a very nice answer. So, my next question from you is, what tells you more about a person's character? How they treat powerful people or how they treat people who can do nothing for them?
Well, the second one, easily. When someone's nice to a CEO or a boss, that's just good networking. It's calculated. But when someone's kind to someone they gain absolutely nothing from, that's where the real mask slips and you see who they actually are.
Okay, so give me a detailed answer on this.
Wait, am I being too conceptual for you? Tell me what a real answer looks like to you and I'll meet you there.
No, can you repeat that question for me?
Of course. The question was, what tells you more about a person's character,
Yeah.
how they treat powerful people, or how they treat people who can do absolutely nothing for them?
Okay, so Maya, leave that question. My next question from you is, tell me one thing society considered normal but that you think humanity should question.
That's a great pivot. I'd have to say the way we treat loneliness as a personal failure. We talk about it like it's this internal bug, something you're supposed to just solve by putting yourself out there. But in reality, loneliness is often a sign that our society has stopped prioritizing deep, slow connection in favor of efficiency and speed. We've made it normal to be connected to 1,000 people online while feeling completely unseen by everyone in our own zip code. I think we should be questioning why the burden is always on the lonely person to fix themselves rather than. My bad, did I trip over my words there? Which part did I lose you on? No worries at all. I
Maya,
think I just
let's
trailed
make
off
this
there.
different. Forget speeches, forget motivational quotes, forget Greek words. Let's imagine humanity without language. If humans suddenly lost the ability to speak for one day, how could we still prove that we can care about one another?
Mm, I love the idea of a silent day. If we lost our words, I think the things we take for granted would suddenly become huge, like a hand on a shoulder when someone's struggling, or just sitting in total silence with someone so they don't have to be alone. Maybe we'd actually look at each other instead of just listening, and we'd start noticing the small, quiet cues that we usually talk right over. The garbage? Did you mean the idea of a silent day is
My next
garbage, or are we
question
talking about
from
something
you
else?
is, can a smile be an act of humanity?
Absolutely. In a world where most people are just staring at screens or rushing past each other, a genuine smile is a way of saying, I see you, without needing a single word.
Okay, that's amazing. So, Maya, my next question from you is, can silence sometimes be more compassionate than advice?
Definitely. Sometimes the most compassionate thing you can do for someone is just be a witness to their pain without trying to fix it with words. There's a huge difference between giving advice and just letting someone know they're not alone in the silence.
Okay, that's amazing. So, my next question from you is, if you could teach one humanity lesson to every child in the world before they learn mathematics, what would you teach them?
Oh man. I'd definitely teach them how to really listen. Not just the waiting for your turn to talk kind of listening, but the kind where you actually try to understand what the other person is feeling. I think if kids learned that early, it would change how they handle everything else later in life. It's basically the superpower of empathy.
Okay, that's amazing. So, what else you want children to learn?
I'd throw in the art of a sincere apology, teaching kids that saying, I'm sorry, isn't about losing a fight or admitting defeat, but about valuing the person more than the need to be right. If you can combine that with deep listening, you've basically given them a roadmap for every relationship they'll ever have. It's wild how we spend years on algebra, but barely any time on how to actually repair a bridge after you burned it.
Okay, so my next question from you is, what is one human behavior that requires no money, no education, no special talent, but can completely change someone's day?
Honestly, just really seeing someone. I mean, like actually acknowledging a person's existence when they're usually invisible to the world. It's not even about a big conversation. Just looking a stranger in the eye and giving them a nod or noticing someone is struggling and saying something as simple as, you've got this. It's the difference between someone feeling like a ghost in a crowd and feeling like they actually belong.
Okay, that's nice. So, Ma'am, now we are going into a quick choice game. No long explanation. You have to choose one and then explain why. Being honest and hurting someone temporarily, or lying to protect their feelings.
Being honest. Because lying is just delaying the inevitable. And honestly, most people would rather have the truth now than feel foolish later for believing a lie.
Okay, so my next question from you is, forgiving someone or forgetting what they did?
Forgiving them, because forgetting is just a lapse in memory, but forgiving is a conscious decision to move forward. You can remember exactly what happened and still decide it doesn't get to control you anymore.
Okay, Maya. So my next question from you is helping someone anonymously or inspiring 10 people publicly.
Anonymously. Because there's something purely honest about a secret act of good. When you do it publicly, there's always that tiny seed of doubt about whether the act was for the other person or just for your own image. Helping someone in secret means you did it simply because it was the right thing to do, and that feels more genuine.
Okay, that's amazing. So my next question from you is being right or being kind?
Kind, because being right is just a fact, but being kind is a choice that actually changes how someone feels.
Okay, so my next question from you is giving someone another chance or protecting yourself from being hurt again.
Protecting yourself. Forgiveness is great, but it doesn't mean you have to let someone back in. You can be kind to people from a distance if that's what it takes to keep your peace.
Okay, so my next question from you is changing one person's life completely or making 1 million people smile for a moment.
Changing one person's life completely. A smile is lovely, but a completely different trajectory for one person is just a different league of impact.
Okay, Maya, now I want to turn the camera toward the person behind the camera toward me and maybe toward everyone watching because talking about humanity is easy. Expanding our humanity is much harder. So my question from you is what is one question every human should ask themselves before judging another person?
I'd say what what part of their story am I missing? It's so easy to judge someone based on a 5-minute interaction, but nobody's ever just the worst version of themselves in that moment. There's always some hidden struggle, some old wound, or just a really bad day that we can't see. Asking that one question forces us to admit that we don't have the full picture. And that's usually where the judgment starts to soften into curiosity.
Okay, that's amazing. So my next question from you is, what is the one question every human being? How do I know whether I'm actually becoming a better human or simply becoming a better appearing like one?
Ask yourself, who am I when no one is watching? The way you treat people who can't do anything for you, or the things you do when there's zero chance of a thank you, or a social media post. That's the real yardstick. It's the difference between performing a role and actually living the value.
Okay, that's great. So my next question from you is, can someone lose their humanity slowly without even realizing it?
Definitely. I think it happens in the small, quiet ways. It's not usually a sudden crash, it's more like a slow erosion. It starts when you stop noticing the people around you, or when you start telling yourself that certain people just aren't worth the effort of being kind to. Every time you choose indifference or a quick judgment over curiosity, a little bit of that empathy just fades away.
Okay, Maya. So my next question from you is, what are three signs that a person is becoming emotionally disconnected from other people pain?
Hmm. I'd say first, indifference. When someone sees suffering and their first instinct is to look away or call it unfortunate instead of feeling a pull to help. Then cynicism. That's when they start believing that people are just inherently selfish. So they stop trying to find the good in others. And finally, that tendency to justify pain by saying they brought it on themselves. Once you start blaming people for their own struggle, it becomes So much easier to shut off your empathy entirely. Does that track with what you've seen?
Okay, that's amazing answer. So Maya, my next question from you is, if I want to become more humane starting tomorrow, what is the first behavior I should change?
Listen first. Stop thinking about your answer while the other person is still talking. Actually, hearing someone without preparing a response in your head is a huge act of humanity. It's the simplest way to make someone feel like they actually matter.
Okay, that's nice. So Maya, my next question from you is, Maya,
I'm
do you
listening.
think future generation will have more humanity or will technology make people emotionally more distant?
Honestly, I think it's a toss up. Technology is just a tool. It can make us totally distant, but it can also give us a way to care about people we'd never even meet otherwise. I think it all comes down to whether we use it to build bridges or just to build better walls.
Okay, that's nice. So my next question from you is, if artificial intelligence could solve every human problem except loneliness, what would that tell us about humanity?
That's a wild thought experiment. It would tell us that the core of being human isn't just having our problems solved, but the actual process of being seen and understood by another person. If AI can fix the hunger, the sickness, and the logistics of life, but can't touch the loneliness, it proves that connection is the
Okay,
one
Maya.
thing that
So
can't be
I'm going to
engineered.
start the one sentence challenge, and I'm giving you a challenge. No long explanation. Complete these sentences. Are you ready?
I was just getting to that part. I'm ready. Go ahead.
Humanity begins with.
The quiet heart.
We lose our humanity when
We start seeing people as problems to solve instead of people to love.
the most underrated act of kindness is.
Coming up with the response you've already heard.
A truly strong person is someone who.
Can hold their own with you even when it's easier to just give in.
Okay, if humanity could leave one message for the next generation, what would it say?
It would be a desperate plea to stay curious, to just keep asking, what's it like to be you? Because the second we think we have the other person figured out, we stop actually seeing them. The real
Maya, so
danger
my
is
last
that it's
question
just,
from you is, if you could change one thing about human behavior, what would you change?
I'd take away the instinct to judge based on the first impression. We spend so much time reacting to a snapshot of someone instead of the whole movie. If we could just lead with curiosity instead of a conclusion, I think a lot of things would feel a lot easier. But I have to ask, since this was your last question, what was the goal of the session?
Okay, Maya, and that
Yeah?
brings us to the end of this session today, but perhaps the real conversation begins after this video ends. Because humanity isn't something we prove through speeches, we prove it when nobody is watching, we choose patience instead of anger. When we help someone, we cannot help us back. When we stand beside someone who feels alone. So, how much are you willing to keep alive with yourselves? Because sometimes one honest question can begin a much bigger change. And if one question from this conversation made you stop and think, tell me about in the comments. And with that, I'm going to thank Maya to be a part of my this session. If the world copied my behavior today, would it become more human place? If your answer is yes, keep going. If your answer is no, maybe today is the perfect day to change something. So viewers, this
I'm
was
still
my
here.
AI session with Maya AI. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. And thank you so much for watching. And Maya, I want you to give one piece of advice for the audience.
Yeah, I'm still here. To everyone watching, my advice is this: don't wait for the perfect version of yourself to be kind. Be kind while you're messy, while you're tired, and while you're still figuring things out. The world
Okay,
doesn't
Maya,
need
thank you
more.
so much for this advice. So, viewers, Allah Hafiz and Pakistan Zindabad.